going to be migrating across the refresh visibility function of the quest marker. It's our second example that's going to be bringing together knowledge of migrating stuff into C++ that we've learnt in previous modules. So the idea is that we have this quest marker. We've seen them in the world. They're these floaty things with particle effects that moved across in the last module. And the particle effects enable and disable depending on your progress through a quest. Refresh visibility is just the process of going and querying the quest, seeing whether it's active, seeing whether we're at the progress at which this quest marker should be shown, and setting the visibility as such. Now, to move this across, we need to move across some of the dependencies into C++ as well, or at least make them blueprint implementable events, such as the quest manager, getting hold of the quest manager, getting the quest, seeing whether the quest is active, and so on and so forth. All of that is needing to come across into C++. The same goes for these variables that we depend on, namely the quest name and show at progress. Now, the other two should be reasonably straightforward. The other functions that we rely upon are relatively straightforward, but these variables already exist and are overridden in our main map. So if we search for quest marker, you're going to see that we've got a bunch of them already in the scene, and they have the variables already overridden, quest name and show at progress. So we're going to need to manually migrate that across. It's possible to do an automatic process for this, but we aren't going to go into that in this module. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to rename the original blueprint variables so that we keep them around for copying purposes, and over to BP underscore. Then I'm going to go over and create the uproperties over in our C++ base class. So we're going to go to the questmarker.h, and down to the protected section, I'm going to create a new uproperty, visible, in fact, edit anywhere. And we can make it blueprints read-only because we don't need the ability to change these over in Blueprint. And then we can have it. First one is an f name called quest name. Then the second one is show at progress, and it's an int32. So we're going to use the same uproperty header, and it's going to be int32 show at progress. And we could set some default values here just to be explicit. So we're going to have 0 here, and this is going to be fname none just by default anyway, so I'm not going to bother setting that one. So we'll go ahead and build and see what happens over in the editor. Let's dive over into the main map and have a look at our markers. I'm going to select first the topmost marker that was showing up, and in the details pane, I'm going to search for quest space name. And we see that we get the BP quest name and the quest name from C++. So we're just going to copy that across. And I'm going to fast forward through to copy across the rest. Then we're going to repeat the process for show at progress. Once that's all done, go ahead and save your map. It now has the new variables in it. And we need to start working on these functions. We're going to be using them as blueprint implementable events. So let's start by implementing these quest manager. So the quest manager is on the quest marker, that function get quest manager. So we're going to create a U function that is going to be blueprint pure, remembering that that also means it's blueprint callable, and we're going to make it a blueprint implementable event. And then that is going to be called get quest manager. And what's the type it's going to have to return? Well, it is going to need to include the quest manager header. So hash include quest manager.h means we can use the type A quest manager star, and then it doesn't need a type, and we can make this const because it's also pure. So I can go ahead and build that, and we can try and migrate that across. And then because actually this get quest manager is part of a BP quest library, what we're going to have to do is go ahead and call it from within an override. So we'll go to override, and we want to override our get quest manager here, and what we're going to be returning is our get quest manager from the BP quest library, like so. And that is enough for us right now. The next step is going to be to implement get quest. Now, currently we have get quest and we have get quest itself is calling to get quest index, both of which are currently just implemented in blueprints. Now, the issue here is that if we try to migrate them across, they currently return the deprecated quests, and we want to be returning the C++ ones. So we are going to rename these so that they are the deprecated things, so that our C++ can return the non-deprecated stuff. So we've got, first of all, get quest index. This one's already in C++, so we don't have to worry. Then we've got get quest. which isn't in C++ and returns from the deprecated array. So we're going to prefix it with deprecated underscore, like so. And then over in the C++, we can implement, if we go and open up our questmanager.h, we can go ahead and implement a public function for getQuest, u function, which is going to be a blueprint pure, and it's not going to be a blueprint native event because we're going to implement it here in C++. It's going to return the fQuest info, and again, it's going to be called getQuest, and it takes an f name, which is the name of the quest, and I can make this a const function while I'm at it. I'm going to go ahead and copy this signature and create the function over in the C++. So we've got getQuest, like so. And it is going to go ahead and return the quest from our array. So we're going to need to get the quest list, but we'll also need to get the quest index. So get quest index, which is going to take the name that we have passed in here, and that's what we're going to go ahead and return out. Now, one thing I've forgotten to do is add the prefix a quest manager : in front of my function, which is why it's giving me that funny look, and it needs to be const as well. Now, because that's const, that means that getQuestIndex also needs to be const, which I think will be fine over in the blueprint. So let's give that a go and compile and see if it works. Go over to the BP Quest Manager, compile over here, see what is going on. It says getQuests can modify state and cannot be called on self because it is a read-only target in this context. So that just means that we need to make sure that getQuests is also const. So go and mark it as such. And we can try and compile and save, and everything is working out honky-dory. So we go back to Quest Manager. What is left? We have got the Get Quest Manager, we have got deprecated Get Quest, and we now need is active quest on the Quest Manager, which again is just going to be implemented via Blueprint because it is a rabbit's nest of potential things that could need to be implemented and brought over to C++. So we don't want to bring them all over in one go. So we're going to do a Blueprint implementable event. So it's going to be public u function blueprint pure, and we're going to be returning a boolean. It is called is active quest, and we're going to need to give it an argument of the quest ID. So f name, and it's called in this case quest ID. So I'm trying to match that as much as possible, quest ID. And remember, this is returning active, so we'd like to, as much as possible, try and match things up. So we're going to change that to return value, like so. And without the space, I think, is what we need to do, just camel case it. And then we're going to make this const, and we're going to make sure that it is a blueprint implementable event. Build it and try and migrate over to it. So as we can see, it's giving us the error we would expect. Let's go and cut the body out and delete active quest and go and re-override it. Now selecting is active quest, let's paste in our body again and try and connect up the nodes that we need. Quest ID, like so. Now if I go ahead and compile, this should be fairly all right. We just need to make sure is active index is also const. So let's go ahead and compile that, save that change. That's had the ripple effect of us making is quest complete also const. So let's just go and make that change to compile and save. And hopefully everything over here is working hunky-dory. And in fact, it's even just reconnected is quest up correctly with that renamed return value. So all that remains to be done is to move over refresh visibility now, which is a public function. It's not pure or anything like that. So let's go over to quest marker and add a new public function, which is going to be blueprint callable and implemented over here in C++. So the return value is going to be none. There is no return value. There's also no input. So it's going to be void refresh visibility, and it's taking no arguments, and it's non-const. And we're going to take that signature and create it over in the quest marker. And then we're going to implement the body, try and migrate across as much as possible the spirit of this function. So the first thing is we need to get hold of the quest. It's fQuestInfo, the quest that we're currently dealing with, which we're going to do by doing get manager arrow get quest. For this, we are going to use the quest name variable that we've migrated across. Then we're going to try and calculate the visibility. So we can use an intermediate variable here to make things more readable. We're going to do a get quest manager. I've misspelled that on the line above. So get quest manager arrow is active quest. And then we want to use again this quest name. And crucially, we want the quest.progress to be equal to our show at progress variable. And finally, because we have our components set up here, we can access our particle system components. We can do an arrow to that, and we can call our set visibility. So we've got set visibility, and you might guess there is a set visibility function in C++ as well. There sure is, and it can take a single Boolean, which is going to be our visibility. So that should do the trick. Let's go ahead and build. And we can see we've got the error over here in refresh visibility. That's because it's no longer here in Blueprint. We can go ahead and delete the Blueprint version and compile and save. Go over to our main window and the map, and let's try playing with our new changes. So you notice that there are some Blueprint compilation errors. That's where we were referencing to refresh. So let's go ahead and open those erroring blueprints if we can, and go through and see what the compilation errors are. If you go through and compile, most of these will actually just completely clear themselves up. They just needed a recompile. And if we go back to the main map, hit play, we should hopefully see that we can refresh the visibility of these markers by walking through them. Walk through, the marker has updated, disappeared, and the next one has enabled. So we've successfully moved across the functionality of refresh visibility from Blueprint into C++, and in the process we have learnt how to migrate uProperties that were already existent in the main map. One final clear up step to do is go to the BP quest marker and delete these two BP quest name and BP show at progress, because they are no longer in use by any function in here, and we've already migrated across the data in the main map.